Good morning, Snaps World. Aaron Murray here. Our boy T-Bob is on the road back from Disney right now. So, a little solo action today, but we're going to have some fun. Talk a little quarterbacks, talk a little Bryce Young specifically. He's been the buzz. Obviously, when you win the Heisman, there's going to be a lot of expectations about where you're going to end up with that next level in the NFL draft. So, I'm going to break it down a little bit today. We'll get more and more in depth as we get closer and closer to the NFL draft. But kind of initial thoughts about Bryce Young is this. He's really, really good. There's no doubt about it. He is what today's game is about when it comes to the quarterback position. He's mobile. He is athletic. He can throw off platform. And I think personality-wise, too, I think that's one of the things that when you get to know him for these GMs, because that's part of the process, and that's what you're going to be doing, from those guys that went to the Senior Bowl to the Combine to your pro day. They may bring you in, Chicago may fly him up for a couple of days to go meet with people inside that facility, a little bit more intimate one-on-one time. They're going to put you on the board. And the one thing that you always hear about Bryce Young when it comes to the in-person experience, off the charts. And I can kind of speak to that too because I had them. I had them in the Sugar Bowl. And I remember we sat down with, obviously, Nick Saban, and we sat down with the coordinators. And then we also sat down with Will Anderson and Bryce Young. Had about 15, 20 minutes to sit with them. And I was coming in with high expectations because I've seen the way he's acted with media in the past. I've heard what a great kid he is. And when you sit down with him and kind of break down ball and the X's and O's and how he plays the position, how he views himself as a quarterback in this new era of football, it's very fascinating. And the whole idea of point guard, facilitator, backyard style football, that's kind of what he feels like he's playing like. It's just more for him reaction. Like I asked him, I was like, do you know and can you see that guy coming at you, from the backside? So our quarterbacks will always have the issue with, that left tackle misses a block, that oopsie block, defensive end comes around, and boom, all of a sudden we get hit in the back, and fans are getting pissed off at us. Like we don't have eyes in the back of our head. But when you watch Bryce, it feels like he does have eyes in the back of his head. And he's like, I just feel it, man. I can sense when I catch the snap. And I can see the initial start to the play. I can already start to see what kind of in my head where problems are going to be at the offensive line. I can still keep my eyes downfield because you never see him have any issues up front. Like he's not a guy that I'm worried about, keeping his head down at the offensive line, worried about watching the rush, not seeing what's going on in the back end with the secondary, but he just feels it. Instinctually, he just feels it. I think one of the best feeling quarterbacks when it comes to pocket presence that I've seen in a long, long time. And that's what you need in today's game, especially if you're going to be in an offense that's a little bit more spread oriented. So, we talk about personnel groupings, 11 personnel, 10 personnel, 3 receivers, 4 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 back. Not your traditional under center, 2 backs, fullback, running back, tight end, 2 receivers, play action pass, all that, which he can do. But to me, it's a new era of football, and he fits that mold so well. But the question is, because of his size, for me, this is my big concern. Because of his size, can he handle the beating which will happen in the NFL? Alabama is Alabama. Have they had some issues where maybe they're not as dominant up front the offensive line as they've been in the past decade plus? That's kind of how Nick Saban built his bread and butter. It was on the trenches. They had they always had the best defensive line. They had the best offensive line. They had a great running game, and they didn't always ask quarterbacks to do a lot. Then that kind of changed a little bit, and you've seen Alabama quarterbacks do their thing. Jalen started getting things going a little bit in the run game as a quarterback. Mac obviously had a super successful career. Tua had a very successful career, but they also had great offensive lines. Bryce had a good offensive line, not great, but when it comes to just comparing them to, say, just your average defensive line, they were still dominant. So he was never, I would say, consistently in harm's way. There was pressure, and he was able to elude it. He was able to extend plays, and once again, that's what made him so special. But when you're drafted where he's going to get drafted, whether it is maybe Chicago trading Justin Fields and then taking him at 1, whether that is Indianapolis trading up to get him at number one, whatever the situation is going to be, you're not going to be on an Alabama football team. You're not going to be on a football team that has top 5, top 10 offensive linemen, top receivers and running backs, and a top defense and top play callers necessarily, the best head coach in college football history. You're getting drafted into a pretty bad situation, most likely. So can he be that magical while probably getting hit more than he was used to getting hit at Alabama? Because not only were the guys around him superior athletes, he as well was a superior athlete than 90% of the guys that he faced. You know, when an average of the mill SEC defensive lineman breaks through and has the ability to sack Bryce Young, I put my money on Bryce. He's going to beat those guys. He's a better athlete. He's a better feel. Backyard football, he's going to make them look silly. The NFL is a different beast. When those guys break through, 7 out of 10 times, maybe 6 out of 10 times for him, he's going to go down. He's not going to win that battle more than 50% of the time. And this is what everyone's going to be watching when it comes to the combine coming up soon. Is what are his true measurables? Everywhere you look, it's 6 foot, 195, 6 foot, 200. He's not 6 foot. He's not. And, you know, his hair gives him a little bit of an edge. Maybe that gives him another inch, and he may appear to be 6 foot, but I stood next to him. I'm 6'6.5", maybe 6'1" on a good day. And standing next to Bryce Young, he is 5'11", maybe at best, 5'11" at best. I would say his playing weight, which is going to be different than what he weighs in at the combine, because I'm sure he's going to get beefed up. And, you know, the next question is, does he get enough weight and maybe hold off running because he's a little bit heavier than what he wants to be? But I would say his frame, where he needs to be to play the most successful football, is a 6 foot quarterback, or a 5'11" quarterback, 5'11 and a half, 185 pounds. 5'11, 185 pounds. Going against defensive linemen that are 6'3", 320, can run 4'8", 4'7". So I'm just more concerned if I'm drafting a quarterback in especially the first 15 picks of the draft. You can maybe get away with this if you get someone late in the first round. You know, look at obviously what Green Bay's done. It hasn't completely derailed their franchise, but, you know, you would have been able, you know, I'm sure Aaron Rodgers would have loved to be able to have drafted a skill position guy in the late first round. But if you draft a guy in the top 15 picks, and this has been a struggle for a lot of teams for the past 5 years, there is an expectation that quarterback's going to be your guy for the next 12 to 15 years. You're drafting him to be the face of your franchise for the next 12 to 15 years. And part of being the face of a franchise is obviously staying on the field. It's the longevity part. And it's funny. I saw something yesterday about just over a different topic or different sport real quick, but someone posted a great graphic of Michael Jordan and LeBron James, because we all know that's a big debate. But the topic was better or just longevity, because that really is the big difference between MJ and LeBron. LeBron's just played a lot more basketball. He's played 6-7 more years more than MJ. Obviously, MJ took a little bit of a hiatus, went and played baseball for a couple of years. You know, who knows what the reason is, but LeBron and why he's partly so great is because of the longevity. Same thing with Tom Brady. You know, what makes Tom Brady great? You know, there have been also great debates that we've seen, and then we've talked about a little bit, but what made Tom Brady so great was he wasn't the best in-season passer. This was on a PTI we were watching. I forgot who it was, Brum, who said this. Wasn't the best in-season quarterback. Peyton Manning was that. Wasn't the best Super Bowl quarterback. That was
the Francesa clip, the Francesa take.
Yeah, Francesa. This was his take. It was Manning was the best in-season quarterback, and in his opinion, Joe Montana was the best Super Bowl quarterback. Look at the stats. But he said this, I'm still going to say Tom Brady's the GOAT, but if I won the quarterback just for the regular season, I'd take Manning. If I won the quarterback for one game to win a Super Bowl, I'm taking Montana. But But Tom, longevity-wise, is what makes him the GOAT. He was able to play every single year, that longevity aspect to it. So tying that back into Bryce Young and these quarterbacks, if you're drafted inside that top 15, there is an expectation you're going to be with us for 12, 15, maybe more. So I'm concerned, and I'm all for small quarterbacks, man. I love it. I love the fact that Drew Brees had a super successful career. I love the fact that we've seen Russ obviously had a great career at Seattle. I love the fact that we've seen quarterbacks on the short end get drafted number one overall, whether it's from Kyler Murray to Baker Mayfield. But have any of those guys on the shorter end, besides really Drew Brees, really create a long career? There is something to being 6'3", 220 pounds that just make those quarterbacks a little bit more durable, able to play a longer career, have more success in this league where guys are bigger, faster, stronger, and it weighing those hits is going to help you in the long run. So I wouldn't take Bryce one. I wouldn't. I'm more of a fan of CJ. I think CJ is a guy that can fit into multiple offenses. I think you could plug CJ into most offenses in the NFL, and CJ would have success day one. I think Bryce is. I think Bryce could fit into a lot of offenses. I think that there is going to be an aspect every week of a coordinator finding ways to make sure that he doesn't take a beating, that he stays upright as much as possible, that he gets the ball out on time in rhythm, which he's really good at doing that. He has a hell of a release. But me personally, I would go CJ1, Bryce Young 2, but they're still going to go in the top 5. Both of them probably in the top 5. To me, those are the only two quarterbacks that I see having a successful career in the NFL, at least early on. I know there's a lot of hype about Will Levis. We'll continue to kind of break down those thoughts, and Anthony Richardson, kind of break down those thoughts. But right now today, if I'm drafted in the top 10, top 15, I still would draft Bryce. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a quarterback needy league. I mean, we talked about the NFC the other day just because of bringing up Jalen Hurts. I would say 80% of the NFC needs a quarterback. If you want to win the Super Bowl, you need a quarterback. So they're going to take a risk. There's a lot of teams that are going to take a risk to move up in the draft. And you look at the AFC, and right now the best 4 teams in the AFC all have all-pro quarterbacks, MVP quarterbacks, a quarterback that's won multiple Super Bowls, from Kansas City to Buffalo to Cincinnati to Trevor Lawrence and kind of what he did in his second year at Jacksonville. Everyone in the AFC, Justin Herbert at San Diego, everyone in the AFC is looking around saying, if we want to get to where we need to get to, we have to take a chance on someone because the bar is set high in the AFC. NFC, it's wide open, but there's just a lot of average quarterbacks. So this is, to me, one of the neediest NFLs I've seen when it comes to the quarterback position. So that means people are going to push. Guys are going to overextend in order to draft a quarterback. So that's why you're seeing these guys, possibly get drafted so early in the first round of this NFL draft. But there's just a little bit about Bryce. Like I said, we'll continue to break him down, these other quarterbacks down as we get closer to the NFL. Things I like: athletic, incredible feel inside the pocket, really, finds a way to move around the offense line and defensive line. His release can make every throw you want from different arm angles. I do think he is above average arm strength. I just think the one big negative to me is just size. And if you're perfectly fine with that, if you're perfectly fine drafting a quarterback that's 5'11", 185 pounds on game day, and you feel like he's going to have a long career and is going to be able to endure the punishment that is going to happen in the NFL, then draft him. Take him number 1. He will look just as good as anyone else with shorts, and he's going to have success in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying that Bryce is going to have a dumpster fire career. I think Bryce has the ability to have a great career, and I think he has a great personality. He's a hard worker. He's infectious. Guys on the football team are going to love him as soon as he gets in the locker room. He's going to be a great leader. I'm just more concerned from the aspect of, once again, if you're drafted that early, there's an expectation of longevity when it comes to the body, being able to hold up every single game for an entire career. And I'm just concerned about giving someone millions of dollars that I'm not sure if he's going to be able to handle that and the punishment that ensues. But going to be fun to debate as we get going further and further. Once again, it's a quarterback needy league. They're going to find a way to make any excuse to draft a quarterback here in the first round as we get closer to the NFL draft here in a couple months. We'll be back tomorrow, most likely. Like I said, T-Bob and the gang in the minivan right now, driving back from Disneyland back to Baton Rouge. So we'll bring some more college football topics. 2 o'clock Eastern, I believe tomorrow will be live once again. So we'll see you then. But for Snaps, everyone, all of our producers, Brumley waking up early to tape this with me, and everyone else, we appreciate you, and we will see you tomorrow.